The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. And the topic of today's session is Higher Education, Answer to Quarter-Life Crisis. Our guest speaker today is Anil Sachdev. He is the founder and CEO, School of Inspired Leadership and Head National Committee, HR and Leadership at Confederation of Indian Industry. Speaking a little about the speaker, Anil Sachdev is the founder and CEO of Grow Talent Company Limited and the School of Inspired Leadership, SOIL, which was recently awarded by SHRM as the Game Changer Academic Institute of the Year 2013. Grow Talent was created in July 2000 and became the leader in the strategic HR consulting industry by 2006. It enabled large number of global and local organizations to achieve big breakthrough performance by realizing the potential of their people and creating a talent advantage. In October 2008, Anil and the other co-founders of Grow Talent entered the field of education by creating SOIL, the School of Inspired Leadership. This innovative school has been co-created by a consortium of 32 leading firms such as Aditya Birla Group, Hindustan Unilever, Infosys, etc. In August 2010, a research study of IIM Ahmedabad named it as a game changer in higher education, and in November 2010, in the case study on the model of SOIL was named as amongst the top 3 innovations in India Corporation by an eminent jury of the All India Management Association. SOIL, acclaimed for being a game changer and an innovation in higher education, was also featured in an exclusive documentary on ET Now, one of the top business channels of India. Recognized as thought leader in leadership development and organizational transformation, Anil has done pioneering work with leading global and local firms. He has been adjunct faculty of leading business schools such as Indian School of Business, Kelley School of Business, Indiana University, GMI, Flint, Michigan, Antioch University, Seattle, Ohio University, and University of New Brunswick, Canada. Anil began his career with Tata Motors in 1975 after completing his MBA. He is the founder of Eco Consultancy Services and was its CEO till 2001. Anil serves on the academic committee of CEDEP, the Leadership Institute of Fontainebleau, is a member of the Global Compassion Council Charter for Compassion International, chairs the National Committee on Human Resources of the CII. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Anil.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this time and to this space. My name is Anil Sachdev. Please call me Anil as you address me in your questions. Everybody in my school, including my young students, call me by my first name. It's been wonderful to get to know many of you through this medium of TechGig, and I congratulate you on your decision to invest in your own awareness, because that is really the first step of building a purposeful life. When I was your age, I used to ask myself the question, and which would sometimes keep me awake in the night, as to what am I here in this world for? Why am I born? What is the whole reason why I exist? And these were some very important questions, which therefore I encourage you, and that's why I'm calling this title to say a new conversation about self. What is your concept of self? Who are you? When I ask you that question, and today is the birthday of one of the greatest thinkers of our times, named Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell studied mythology and comparative religion. He's one of the greatest scientists and thinkers of our times. And he would say to us, fellow human beings, that the way you tell the story about your own self defines your behavior. If the story is full of possibility, you create a life which is meaningful, which you truly are happy about. But if the kind of story you tell about yourself is full of anxiety, full of being made a victim, full of the fact that circumstances were not conducive to you and your development. In other words, if your story was all about holding the world responsible for who you are and being trapped in your circumstances, then the chances were that you were giving yourself reasons not to be who you are. So my first invitation to you in this conversation about yourself is to really ask the question, who are you and how do you tell your story? What's your story? And at this stage, the fact that you are here to be educated in this 1 hour that we are spending together is because you are wanting to invest in your own career. But why are you wanting to invest in your career? I think the reason is that each one of us wants to invest in ourselves because we want to lead more fulfilling lives. We want to be happier than what we are. That's the only reason why we invest in ourselves. If you are not clear that the investment you are seeking in your own self, including the time you are spending of 1 hour with me today, is not going to make you a little bit happier or not going to help you to find answers for becoming happier by investing in yourself, then why should you be part of this learning experience? In other words, all of learning is about realizing our potential, and a human being realizes her or his full potential when the person finds complete joy and happiness within herself. Not just for an hour or two, not just for an hour a day, not just for a month in a year, not just for a year in a decade, but a lifelong pursuit of happiness. And so, the real meaning of education is, what do I do to invest in myself so that I can lead a more happier, fulfilling, and meaningful life? So the question that happens to most of us in India is that we grow up as children competing with one another. We have in India many people and less opportunities, and so we keep on competing with each other in certain ways, so that really the whole thing is about having a scarcity kind of mindset when we grow up. We are standing in a line for a train, there are lesser seats, more people. We want to get into the right nursery school, and our parents get interviewed for an hour because there are limited seats in the prestigious nursery school of our parents' dream, and so on and so forth. The whole process goes that we are learning, being asked to work hard, attend coaching classes, at an early stage define what studies we should pick up. And a lot of our choices are made because that because we are good in maths, we should study science, and because we study science, we should become engineers. And because we become engineers, we should join the software and IT and technology industry, and so on and so forth. So which means, depending upon what the world thinks is success, including our parents and teachers and friends and family, we are encouraged to make certain choices, and these choices inform the way we behave. Very rarely do we get the capacity at a young age to be asked this question: what is your purpose? Why are you born? Why are you a human being? Humans are beings. They are not just human doings or human knowings. That means it's not just the purpose of education to know more or to do more, but it is in fact to be more. That means all of knowing and doing should enhance the feeling of being. And therefore, the critical questions that we have to ask ourselves right from school is, what gives me maximum joy? What kind of things make me feel really happy? When I study this subject, for example, I may be studying science, but when I read poetry, I really feel joyful. Or when I sing with my friends and play the guitar, or when I play basketball, or when I do other things which are not necessarily in my books or on the internet that I've been asked to study, which means there are certain things which bring out the best in me. What kind of guidance have I received about that on things that I'm really good at doing? What gives me maximum happiness? What makes me feel joyful and sad? What makes me feel down? What makes me feel really as these are the low moments of my life? So if I was to encourage you after this webinar to make a simple graph of your life, which is your life story so far, if you were to on the x-axis look at your age and on the y-axis look at moments of impact on you, and if you were to list all the events in your life which you call high points and low points, and if you were to write in brief points, just bullet points on each event, why do you call something a high point? Why do you call something a low point? Then you will get some answers about what's going on here as to what is the guidance you are receiving on what gives you joy, what doesn't give you joy. So that's one part. The second part is, what are the activities you do which really make you feel more joyful? For example, is it working in a team? Is it while doing some analysis? Is it while influencing others? What are the kind of things that really have brought out the best in you, whether you were in high school or college? Were you feeling happiest when you were given charge of organizing an event? Were you feeling very helpful when you were creating a new plan? Were you feeling really helpful when you were really feeling very joyful when you actually solved the problems of people who were in pain or who were in need? I think, really speaking, this is a lifelong search which goes on right from a young age, when you begin to take decisions for yourself, where you begin to think that what is truly important to me, what gives me the maximum joy, what are the things I have done that have given me the maximum joy, and which gives me insights about me, what I value, what gives me happiness, and what I am good at doing. For example, when you connect this over the years, including the time till today in your life, in your work life, which when you talk about the answers to the questions, when was I at my best? When was I and my team at their best? What was unique and special about that experience? And what gave me the maximum happiness at work, professionally, in my career? Then, for example, when you catch yourself describing your happiest moments and experiences as the ones which were all about connecting with people or enabling people and serving people and making them happier, reducing their pain, doing things like that. That means you have a natural inclination of the people side of the business, which means that you really enjoy the work of human resources management, human resources development. If on the other hand, the phrases that you used to describe your best work were all about influencing others, making an impact through the way you communicate, promoting an idea, and things like that, that means the activities that give you the maximum joy are all about influencing people, which is really what marketing is about. On the other hand, if the words that describe your best work are all about making a plan, organizing resources, creating structure, designing a process, doing a review, making sure that people are well informed of how your program or project was doing or not doing, that means you really enjoy the process of operation. On the other hand, if the work that you have done which has given you maximum happiness is about the fact when you were asked to raise resources, understand how the numbers get interrelated with each other, analyze the quantitative aspect which gives you more insights about the way your team is functioning, the way the organization is actually delivering results, etc., etc. That means you really enjoy the field of management information, analysis, and things like the financial dimension of running the business. So which means, really speaking, the natural talent that you seem to have is toward the field of finance and managing the resources and getting the best out of them. On the other hand, when you use your own language to describe your best work and when you watch that, if it is all about you are taking risks, thinking out of the box, developing new ideas and putting them to work and things of this kind, going on a path that others have not done, etc., etc., it means that you really enjoy creating something new, and therefore the whole field of entrepreneurship is something which is important to you. You could be an entrepreneur inside the company. The term for that is intrapreneur, which means you may be creating a new business, a new service, a new product, etc. inside the company. Or you may be doing something which is inside the company that gives you the joy, and you have this desire actually to become an entrepreneur by setting up your own organization, and therefore you are getting guidance that that's something that you are really suitable for. But based on your own best work is the starting point, and learning from people who have observed you doing your best work and getting feedback from them about what are your strengths and what do you enjoy doing the most is the starting point. There are some reliable psychometric tools which really help you to look at your own natural talent profile. And I think one of the world's most powerful talent mapping tools is a tool developed in Princeton by Caliper Corporation, the Caliper Profile as it is called. It's being used by 28,000 companies worldwide to assess the strengths of individuals. And we in the School of Inspired Leadership and the Grow Talent Company have been using it since 2001. And we have assessed more than 15,000 Indian leaders using Caliper, including all the senior management of Tata Steel has taken Caliper because we have helped them with their leadership development process. We have had a number of senior, and these are just two companies. There are many other companies we have used this test for. And this test really helps you to identify your strengths. We also use this test to look at the quality of talent and the strengths of the students who apply for admission to our one-year full-time MBA program that we call the Inspired Leadership Program. Because we believe that CAT, for example, measures only your strengths in terms of your analytical ability and verbal ability, and so does GMAT. So they do give you good feedback about two of your intelligences, but that actually talent is not just analytical, not just verbal ability, it is much more than that. For example, some people have natural talent for leadership. What does that mean? That means they have the ability to take risks, they have the ability to influence people, they have the ability to be assertive, the ability to really have the resilience to recover from setbacks and really impact people positively. There are all these traits of leadership. Similarly, you may have lots of talent in the way, not just how you analyze a problem. The GMAT and CAT help you to understand what is called test of reasoning, but you also, one of the most extraordinary leadership gifts or qualities that you may already have is very high creativity or innovation. And that is never measured through a test of reasoning or analytical test, or even, hardly any IT company ever measures the creativity of its engineers. And the caliper test actually measures it through two dimensions, which is idea orientation in terms of your ability to generate ideas, and also flexibility of thinking. When one thing is not working, how flexible you are in generating new lines of thought. There are also, so therefore this whole thing that we call creative intelligence or divergent thinking is as important as analytical thinking in actually solving a problem or taking a decision. So do you have the natural talent of being creative? And this is a very good question to ask, because in life, sometimes you may have only reasonable analytical intelligence. Therefore, you may have your percentile score on a CAT as 60 or 70, or you may have a GMAT score only of 500 or 550. But if your creativity score is very high, you can outshine any other person who may even be 99.9 percentile on CAT or in 750 on GMAT, because you have far more right brain creative thinking. And recognizing that in you is such an extraordinarily important gift you can give to yourself. Similarly, we know that talent is about the way you deal with people, which means the whole dimension of emotional intelligence, the way you deal with people, the interpersonal intelligence, and also the way you understand your own self and the impact you have on others. For example, when you listen to others, are you able to understand not just what they speak, but what they imply? Do you have the ability to put yourself into the shoes of others by getting out of your own shoes and truly understanding? There's a big difference between empathy and sympathy. A few years back, I and Mr. Nandan Nilekani were speaking to a conference of all the Tata Group managing directors and CEOs. And Nandan was sitting in the front bench after he had given the talk, and I was speaking the next. And I made Nandan Nilekani and another chairman of a Tata company do an interesting experiment. I said, are you interested in volunteering for this experiment to understand the difference between empathy and sympathy? So Nandan said, why not? So he stood up along with the other persons, and I said, now, Nandan, will you step out of your own shoes by removing your shoes? He did that. Then I told the other person, without removing your shoes, can you step into Nandan's shoes? He said, well, that's very difficult. I said, that is our problem in life. We do try to step into other people's shoes while still putting on our own shoes. I said, now, my friend, will you remove your shoes? And he did. And he now step into Nandan's shoes. And he did. And he said, yes, now I know how Nandan's shoes feel like. One of the world's greatest communication experts, Carl Rogers, told us the definition of sympathy. He said sympathy is about trying to understand others while still being yourself. And then he said empathy is about learning to understand others by stepping into their shoes. But Swami Chinmayananda, my guru, and the great founder of Chinmaya Mission, gave us the guidance and said, you can never step into other people's shoes till you get out of your own shoes. And that's what I made Nandan and the other guy do as an experiment. And I don't think they would ever forget that, because they found this very beautiful and simple definition of empathy, which is so important. The caliper test actually allows you to measure the level of empathy you have. Similarly, it helps you to understand the attitude you have towards serving others and really becoming their trusted advisor and consultant. It also helps you to understand the way you are managing your time by developing your own structure, by having a sense of urgency at work. So the way you do execution. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you is that your strengths, which emerge on your best work, are multidimensional. And most testing tools that IT companies use, or MBA institutions like IIMs or ISB use, or even a Harvard uses, is limited to the entrance test based on analytical intelligence and verbal ability and linguistic intelligence, which I don't think is enough. By your taking this test of caliper, which, for example, if you were able to do on your own, it would cost you $200, but it would be an extremely good investment. You will be able to understand your multiple intelligences and talent. And by the way, if you were ever to apply for admission into the School of Inspired Leadership on SOIL, we put every potential applicant that we shortlist through this test of caliper, which gives them a wonderful report about their talent. It's a very nice investment to make. And for a person who applies to SOIL, the person spends just 2,000 rupees and gets a test done which is worth 13,000 rupees in knowing their own talent, which is a wonderful investment. And now I just want to spend a few minutes to say that once you have discovered your strengths and talent, then you should be asking yourself the question, at this stage of my career where your quarter century is up, where maybe you are already 25 years of your life on this planet is enough, which you have spent, but has that time, is it enough for truly developing you holistically? Even though you have gone to a good high school, your parents have done a good job of giving you a good upbringing, you've had a good college education, you are also into a good job, but is that enough? Or is your education, can it be more rounded? For example, if your parents did a good job and teachers did a good job in developing the right values and character, do you have now a good understanding of how you can leverage your values and character to be becoming totally innovative? Is the investment that you are doing in yourself now today to improve as a leader, is that developing all your intelligences, not just your analytical, but also your emotional creativity, and in fact your spiritual dimension? Now, what is spiritual dimension? Spiritual dimension simply means, do you have the self-awareness to know what are the sources of your happiness? Do you know yourself? Do you know the fact that happiness is not coming out of just chasing things and what lies in the outer world, but do you have an understanding of what gives you long-term happiness? And that is the spiritual dimension. Holistic education which you want to invest in should help you not just to choose the right career path, which helps you to get more responsibilities and power and money, but it should help you to develop your strength and your capacity so you really lead a purposeful life, so that when you go to sleep every night you say, I led the day in our world today that really made me happy. It was truly purposeful. And that's why holistic higher education that you are interested in doing should help you in building a career of your choice. Because, career is so important, because spend 60% of our lives, and this may be only an underestimation, because in many of our cases it may be 80% of our life, because we are traveling to work, thinking about work, at work, traveling back from work, and then thinking about work. And these days work has become so pervasive that it invades even our bedroom and our evening life and even our vacation time. So Thanks to technology, work has become such a powerful part of our lives. So we spend most of our waking hours at work. So the way we work and the organizations we work with have such a profound impact. If our work that we do gives us fulfillment, if the organizations in which we work nourish our happiness and make us really positive, then we return home positively charged and we carry that happiness to our families, to our communities. And therefore, if we want to improve the quality of life that we lead, if we want to improve the quality of our communities and our neighborhoods and our country, then we have to begin at the workplace about the way we work. Which means, if you want to transform the quality of your life, you have to transform the quality of your work and therefore your own career. Therefore, higher education of a really meaningful kind should help you to know yourself that better. It should help you to know your interests, your natural talent. It should help you to develop your own learning agenda. It should help you to learn the way you learn. For example, higher education should help you to be aware, do you learn through reading? Do you learn through documentation? Do you learn by doing activities the way you learn? And it should help you to develop your learning agenda. It should give you enough global perspective on new careers and opportunities all over the world. Higher education should help you to form the right meaningful networks which are truly virtuous. Higher education should help you to find the right mentors and coaches which can help you to make the right choices. And finally, it should help you to generate diversity of opportunities for yourself so that you can truly choose a life of purpose and happiness for yourself. And the question comes, if higher education is the answer to improve the quality of your life, then what kind of education? I think I would like to say this is something that we also follow in soil, that there are, for example, at the innermost level, it should help you to become a better leader. And so the innermost layer is what we call, for example, in the School of Inspired Leadership, mindfulness. Mindfulness means your ability to fully focus on the present. Is, for example, when in the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan was earlier a brilliant player, but he was not helping the Chicago Bulls to win the competition, then his coach, Phil Jackson, told him the reason you are not able to help the team to work because his coach studied Zen, meditation and Buddhism. He was able to watch the mind of Michael Jordan. And he was able to give Michael Jordan a training of leading his own mind when he was not focusing on winning himself, but by paying fully attention to playing the game with a team. That wonderful gift of mindfulness helped the Chicago Bulls to win many years of competition after Michael Jordan started playing for the team with a full spirit of mindfulness. So mindfulness is your ability to be fully present and with full awareness so that you can really focus on what you are doing in every moment. In soil, we teach that pranayama, yoga, meditation. And I think this is a part of our daily practice to also observe learning to be in the present through the practice of meditation and silence. Education should help you to make the right choices. What is important for multiple stakeholders so that whatever you do is not just benefiting one stakeholder, but it is fair to all, which is the practice of ethics. Higher education should help you to make people feel better in your presence. It should develop the spirit of compassion so that when you see people in need around you, you can do something to not only elevate their suffering, but to help them to be happier. Last week I spent a couple of days with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, who was teaching us this very wonderful gift. Every year I am very fortunate to be invited in a small group of teaching with His Holiness, in which he was teaching us that if you learn the practice of compassion, you will be so happy in helping others that you will become a fantastic leader. Higher education is about respecting the uniqueness of other beings. truly understanding the value of diversity, because when, for example, in India we value diversity, we value the ethnicity, the religion, the gender, the age diversity, and when we learn to leverage each other's strengths, then we produce extraordinarily high innovation. Diversity directly leads to innovation. And finally, in whatever we do through higher education, we should learn to take decisions which are not just good for today, but also good for tomorrow. For example, the way we use our time and resources, the way we take planet Earth's resources, for example, the way we use the water around us, just as an example. So the practice of sustainability. I think these 5 pillars that we call of inspired leadership are extraordinarily important in becoming better leaders and better and happier human beings. Secondly, higher education should help us to develop competence of whole systems thinking. That means, how are the dots connected? How are what I am doing today going to impact others in my own community and in other communities that I interact with? So competence of thinking. And finally, higher education should generate enthusiasm in my heart. It should teach me my purpose, help me to know my strengths, help me to leverage my strengths towards my purpose. Because when I use my talent towards things that matter to me, I am very, very happy and I am able to lead a life of happiness. And therefore, in the School of Inspired Leadership, we believe higher education as a combination of knowing, doing, and being. So we do many actions, for example, which you should look for in higher education. For example, all our focus is on learning based on participants' needs. So for example, in our classroom, we don't have auditorium. We have round tables, and we say that every teacher is a facilitator, not just speaking to people. So I think I liked very much what one of our board members said, that our learning should not be based on not what is taught, but what is sought. What students require, what is sought, not what is taught. Therefore, we believe in an individual learning plan which is custom designed for each student. And I would encourage you to choose that kind of education. I would like you to choose an education in which students are not made to compete with one another, but they compete with themselves. And I believe every higher education should have an element of social innovation, where you are connected with that underprivileged part of society, so that you use all your management and leadership knowledge to make a difference to society, which is what we call social innovation. And we believe the method of learning should not just be lectures and role plays and simulations, but that we should use theater. We should have creative expressions of intelligence through music and dance and other things, even as we study hard subjects like finance or technology. For example, can you convert the lessons of a new business strategy into a company song that everybody can sing together, so the strategy of the company comes alive? You know, these kinds of things which are so important. And so finally the question comes, how do you select the right kind of institutions? What defines truly good educational institutions for you to study? I would say put a lot of attention on the quality of the curriculum. Is the curriculum designed to solve the problems the world is facing? Is the curriculum helping you to find the right happiness for yourself? Are the faculty who are teaching there not just eminent by qualifications, but do they really care for their students? And do they have the perspective where they are consulted by some of the best companies in the world? Every faculty member in a business school must have a distinguished consulting practice. That means he's very sought after. Do the people have actual industry experience rather than just a theoretical PhD? Are there customized learning plans? Is every student given a mentor or a coach? Are people being provided leadership training and not just management training? And is the quality of the peer group such that people are truly wanting to make a difference? I think, therefore, these are all the important questions. And so the question to you is, what's the first step and how do I take it? And I think once you realize that you have a deep purpose and cause that you begin to care about, then the question is, what kind of learning strategy would enable me to meet my development? What are the sources of this learning? and how can I get meaningful information to these questions. I think irrespective of your start, I think it's important for you to enjoy and learn various aspects of business. And what's truly important is make a difference to the organization, society, and nation. And so the question to you is, what will matter after 10 years to you? Would it be generating new ideas? Would it be influencing people? Would it be getting the best out of people? Or would it be making a good return on investment that you are making in yourself? And so I think with these questions, I would like to end my talk. I think I have taken a little bit longer than I had originally planned, but we do have a good 20 minutes to talk to each other. So now over to you, and I would wait for your questions so that I could respond.
Thanks for the insightful presentation, Anil. Let's quickly take up the questions now. So I would read aloud the questions for you and you can take up the answers. So one question has come from Vaibhav Khurana. He's asking, I have been working in TCS for the past 4 years, but I have resigned recently. I couldn't take doing coding anymore as I have never had any interest in it but had to join TCS as I did not have any other choice. Now I'm preparing for MBA exams, but I'm a little concerned that the fact that I have resigned will affect me negatively during PI. Please guide.
One thing that I would advise you strongly is just be absolutely truthful and be completely open so that you never have to make up an answer. If you always speak the truth, you don't have to remember what you spoke the last time. That's what we teach our students. So just say it the way it is. Say that, like everybody else, you became an engineer. Like everybody else, you joined a software company. Like everybody else, you were writing code. But then one day you realized that this is not what gives you happiness. And so you said you want to invest in broadening your perspective and broadening your education. And that is the honest truth. And you resigned because you were not enjoying the work and you felt it is not fair to TCS for continuing at the work while you were not enjoying it, because if you were not enjoying it, you were not giving your best. And that was not fair either to you or to TCS. And so you decided that you would take the risk of resigning and then preparing yourself and investing in your education so that you could concentrate on the job of really finding the right institute to study, an institute where your truthfulness will be counted, the institute which will not hold it against you, the fact that you resigned, but would admire you for your honesty and sincerity, and would admire you for your courage to walk away from a career that you had built so far. And so I think look for such a school. For example, if you were to become a candidate to School of Inspired Leadership, and if you were to tell our interview team the honest truth, that would certainly be in your favor. That's what I would encourage all good schools to do, and I would encourage you to be completely straightforward and truthful.
The next question comes from Devesh Kumar.
Yeah, Radna, the next question.
I'm software engineering with 8 years of experience now, and I have a plan to open a primary school after 8 years from now. Do you think during MBA, would it be helpful?
You know, running a primary school, Devendra, is about several things. For example, it is about locating the school at the right place. It's, for example, making sure that you develop the right kind of infrastructure, that you create the right amount of finance and raise funding to make it sustainable, to hire the right quality of teachers, to develop the right methods of learning and pedagogy, to target the right segment so you get the right kind of students, to get the teachers who are truly committed and who are using the pedagogy that you are designing for the school, and to really lead the whole team of teachers and the support staff that you have so that the primary education really becomes a very joyful experience for children. Now, all these dimensions require, one part, your passion for education that you may have. The other is a domain knowledge of understanding what education at that level is about children, the methods of teaching and all that, which is so important. So I think passion comes from you. the knowledge of education, primary school and children, and what makes children learn and the best methods of learning and the pedagogy, that's something that comes from understanding education itself and therefore specializing in education. So for example, I have a colleague who works with us in the School of Inspired Leadership. Her name is Nupur Todi. And when she got interested in education, she decided to invest in doing a master's in education from Harvard University in Boston. From where then she joined the School of Inspired Leadership. So I think, she said she's very keen to know about education. But then a point in time may come that you may actually do education studies either online or otherwise in preparing for your dream. But finally you have to learn to do everything else about setting up an organization, raising funding, marketing, and managing resources and managing people. Now, all these dimensions will be learned through a good MBA program. So I would say that you have to decide whether you have enough management experience through your 8 years in learning these dimensions. Therefore, you don't need an MBA. And therefore, you should go for a master's in education because that will prepare you for your primary school career. So you have to decide, or would it be that you will learn primary school education expertise through online education? If at all possible, you could do both, which means do a double degree, one in education and one in management, so that you, on one hand, understand how to run an institute, on the other hand, know about the domain more. So that would be my response.
Vaibhav Kurana asks, what if the caliper test is not up to the mark? Does soil going to help to those to come up to the mark?
It depends on what are the traits in caliper. For example, there is nothing called not up to the mark. We will always find some strengths in you. But if, for example, it says that your caliper profile is such that, let's say that you have certain significant challenges in your profile. For example, you're not very structured in managing your time, and therefore whatever work you do, the results don't come effectively even though you have good thoughts and other forms of intelligence. Then certainly education in soil will help you to become more structured and do that. If, for example, you are shy, you don't work well in teams, soil education will help you in that. If you're not very creative, and soil education will certainly help you to become creative. But it really depends on your caliper profile. So once you only take the test and apply for admission, only then we will come to know what your profile is, and then we can answer the question better. I think based on the caliper, we reject only a very small percentage of students. In most cases, we like to actually meet them to understand what the caliper profile speaks to us. And we have a team that meets people both from industry and our school. And these are leaders who have really spent a lot of time knowing people and knowing their talent. So I think that is the process that we would normally recommend.
Another question comes from Vaibhav. He wants to know, how do soil help me shift my domain entirely and still be assured of a good package and placement?
Well, in the case of the School of Inspired Leadership, one thing is clear, that people come to us for transformational learning. They don't come to us simply because they want a stamp which will help them to change their career and get a package. So they come to us for learning, and when they get that transformational learning and they develop that confidence and capability, then they get automatically the benefit of that choice. So I think the reason they come is learning, and the reason is not to track change and placement. But companies, what they look for when they come, they are not impressed by necessarily your past experience. They want to know how you have used your past experience in developing yourself during the 1 year you have spent in soil. And so really speaking, it depends on what have you done with the past background you have, and how you have used the new learning given to you to develop yourself. If they find the flexibility of thinking where you have combined your past experience in learning new capabilities, which makes you suitable for the new career track, they welcome you. Otherwise, they may still give you a chance in a new career, but they may not give the weightage to your past experience. So for example, if you have worked in IT industry and now you are applying for an HR program and you are going to work in an IT company in HR, they may value your past experience and give you more compensation and package for that. But let's say you have worked in IT industry and now you are getting into a marketing job in a consumer products company. They may not give you any weightage for your past experience. It really will depend upon. But if it is marketing in an IT company, they may give you weightage. So it really depends on how you develop yourself and how do you sell yourself in the interview. What Soil does is gives you a wonderful transformational learning experience and then arranges opportunities for you to meet different companies. But finally, the performance of getting a package and everything depends entirely on you. The school can only create opportunities. It does not guarantee any form of placement of any kind.
Right. Another question
Go
comes
ahead,
from,
Aradhana.
he's saying, I'm a fresher. I want to get in operations. Will MLP or HRLP at Soil help me make my career in this domain?
You know, if you are a fresher, you must be willing to work extraordinarily hard because in 1 year we put as much learning as 2 years, which means the amount of things you are expected to learn in 1 year, that means you don't have any holidays, you don't have long breaks. In our case, you work 6 days a week, not 5 days a week, and you spend 6 hours in the school rather than 4 hours in other schools. So really speaking, it's an intense daily routine of working on projects, doing your assignments, studying in groups and by yourself and attending classes and interacting with industry. And many evenings we have special speakers who come from different parts of the world. So actually, even as I speak to you, the chairman of Manipal Hospitals, Mr. Swaminathan, who was earlier the MD of Infosys BPO, is speaking to all our students. He has recently joined our board. So there are almost several times in a month we have these outstanding leaders who are coming and speaking to our students. So if you are willing to be prepared for an intense 1 year, then you should apply for admission here. And certainly, if you join marketing or the HR program, there is an operations job, whether you join one industry or the other by doing marketing and HR. There is an operations dimension of marketing in the way you do distribution and sales force and working in sales. Similarly, if you do the HR program, there's an operations part of HR operations in the way you run all your, as a generalist in HR, when you run HR operations. So certainly, it could prepare you for operations, but you really have to be willing to work extraordinarily hard for the next 1 year.
The next question comes from Sagar. He's saying, hi, I am software engineer in financial domain with 3 years of experience and would like to improve my skills in the same field. Only so in terms of higher education, which course would you recommend for him? Please advise.
So if I understand the question correctly, he's a software engineer with 3 years of experience in the financial services domain. And he's asking a question, what kind of higher education will make me develop more in my field? I think as a software developer in the financial services domain, or BFSI as it is called, you are wanting to develop yourself in many ways. A, you can become a good analyst. 2, you could become a good business developer, which is so crucial for software industry. Or you could become a more project oriented and project manager and ultimately program manager and delivery manager and so on. So depends on what are your ways that you are wanting to develop yourself. If you are interested in becoming a business analyst rather than only a software developer, if you are interested in becoming a business developer where you go and win key accounts, or if you're interested in managing teams of people, then of course I would advise you to do a high quality MBA like the one in Soil. But if your interest is more to become a specialist in the software domain in the financial services industry, then you can do any number of certifications which are available for you to become a better and better specialist in your domain. And those are available, whether it is learning new technologies that are coming up in your domain, learning more about the core banking solutions which are being done, and really learning the latest in the core banking solutions so that your mastery over those software is good and you are certified for handling different aspects of those products, and therefore industry finds you more valuable and your own company finds you more valuable. So it really depends upon how you define your career plan, and accordingly, so if your career plan is to become more broad-based into business development analysis and team management, then an MBA is recommended. Otherwise, there are other forms of certification in your own domain.
Gaurav Atre asks, I cannot afford quitting my job and go for a full-time course. Doing PGDBM, distance learning, is a good idea?
Gaurav, if you cannot afford to go for further studies, then right now, then yes, I would think doing part-time and online education is a wonderful idea. Not just PGDBM online, that is only a certificate. There are any number of online courses by institutes in MIT, Stanford, which are called MOOC courses from organizations such as Coursera or Stanford Online or many of these institutions. I would say that find the online courses. Some of them are very stimulating and very, very good quality. And learning on your own by doing those courses would help much more than just the desire to acquire a certificate. Because, you know, the degrees or certificates are not what are valuable, but the powerful learning experience that you get are really the ones which make a difference.
The question comes from Prashant. He says, hi Anil, I have completed BE in CS in 2009 with an average of 50% and I have an experience of 4 years. Career has been stagnant and I want to look out for higher studies. My question is that, is it the right time to pursue higher studies? If not, why? And he also says, would a MS in engineering management give a boost to my career?
Actually, the right time to invest in education is now, because 4 years is already getting to a point where it is more than what you need to invest in a master's program. So yes, you should do it definitely, without fail, do it fast. And now whether it's engineering or it is business management or management and leadership like we teach, it depends on how you define your career goals. If you really enjoy engineering and the domain of developing new products, writing new programs, developing new technologies, that gives you a lot of happiness and joy, and you believe that you can be truly innovative in developing new products, then go for that, then specialize in a master's in engineering. But if you believe that your interests are more about dealing with people, influencing them, creating new strategies and ideas, and really managing resources and doing things like that, then go for an MBA. So it really depends on what you enjoy doing the most, which is what I said in the beginning, and what gives you true happiness. Find that, and this answer will then become clearer after that.
Next question comes from Ravi Kumar. He says, I have done BE in electronics and communication and working as network engineer, Cisco L2, L3, switch configurations, Fortinet configurations, etc. If I need to go for higher education, which course I need to choose?
So once again, as I mentioned to you, you have to make a choice whether you want to become better and better in your technical domain or into the business domain. With technical domain, I will give you one answer for going for a master's program, which is in your own field of the relevant amount of technology and engineering in different parts of the world. For example, Carnegie Mellon is a top-class university in your area in Pittsburgh. But for example, even in India, the Indian Institute of Science and some other new institutes which have come up recently, including there are some courses in BITS Pilani and institutions like that, including IITs doing an MTech, might be useful. But if your interests are really more broad-based in working with people, raising funds, organizing resources, etc., I mentioned earlier, then you should invest in an MBA.
So as we have a little time constraint, I would request this to be the last question, and then you can sum up the session for today before we close down. So the last question from Anurag is, you teach leadership. How is it different than management taught by other B schools?
Yes, management is about planning, organizing, controlling, and that part. Leadership is about vision, values, and empowerment. Management tells you how to manage resources efficiently. Leadership tells you how to find the right direction and how to find the inspiration in yourself. In soil, we teach you the core learning is about learning how to lead yourself. If you do not know how to lead yourself, for example, your own health and body and the way you listen, the way you observe, if you don't know how to lead your own emotions, lead your own mind, if you don't know how to lead your own thinking process, lead your own creativity, lead your own innovation, if you don't know how to lead your own ego, which comes in the way of your own learning, then I think you are realizing only a small part of your potential. In soil, we tell you and teach you how to manage yourself so that you know how to lead yourself, so that you find a life of inspiration and which makes your life full of purpose and joy and happiness. And so it's a very strong focus on the spiritual and emotional dimension, which is completely different from most other business schools. And that is the uniqueness of soil.
So that was the last question. If you would like to sum up the session for today.
So thank you very much, all of you who chose to turn up on this webinar. I thank each one of you for your stimulating questions, for the wonderful gift that you gave to yourself for spending that 1 hour in thinking about your own self and how to improve yourself further. I think learning to ask the right questions is the most important capacity that you could develop in yourself. If you can develop the ability to ask the right questions, you will automatically find the answers. So keep finding new ways to learn. And once you learn how to learn, I think the rest will become very simple. With these words, I thank you very much for this adventure in learning together. And thank you, Aradhana, for being an excellent host.
I'm really thankful to our guest speaker today for conducting this wonderful webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Anil, for taking the time out. Have a great evening ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.